Tavshin Pei Daled. Okay. Good morning, brothers. Good morning, everyone. Shavua Tov. Gmar Chatima Tova. Oh, here we go. Tishrei is our first time doing it. It's a kif. This is so special. Tishrei sponsored the month by my dearest brother-in-law and sister-in-law Tanya and Yehuda Anakman in honor of their eldest daughter Muna's birthday, and for the Fuah Shlema and Chizuk, a goof of Yakir Shlomo ben Tanya Malka. Doctors Shira and Yonatan Wiesen, Rabbi Yair and Talia Hinden, commemorating the first yahrzeit of their grandmother Edith Reeder, Zichrono Livracha. Alex and Shachar Avram for a successful year for all of Am Yisrael, and in memory of Shachar's sister Miriam. Okay, Yishar Koach Shachar. This week is sponsored by Michal and Yudi Reinitz for the Refuah Shlema of Eitan Shai ben Adina Bracha, Zach and Elizabeth Freud for the Refuah Shlema of Zachariah Shlomo ben Devora, Dr. Josh Goncher in honor of his wife Eva's birthday, Elisa and Brandon Beer in gratitude to Hashem for their daughter Meira's first birthday. And we continue. Daily sponsorships. This is Gewalt. I could go on all day. All day. All day. This is like such nachas. Daily sponsorships. Mondays. Today it's Tzom Gedalya by Linda and Serge Merkin, commemorating the yahrzeit of Serge's uncle, Yisrael ben David, Zichrono Livracha, Yishar Koach. And by Yossi Weiss, in memory of Gershon ben Yosef Halevi, Zichrono Livracha. I think that is my brother-in-law's grandfather, being done by his father, who also needs a refuah shlema. Okay. Okay, Chaverim Yikarim, something very, very special, something very much to tune us into the depth of today. Today's a very special day because it's the first day that we're not ki'ilu, like the malachim. It's like the first day that it's like back in this world, but not really, because whether we realize it or not, everything is chadash. Everything is chadash. Everything is brand new. And everything is calling us to just allow ourselves to, I don't know what the right word is, be surprised, be open to all the newness that came down the second that we blew the shofar. Really, this year, it's not even the second we blew the shofar. It already happened on Shabbos morning when Kivyachol, Ribono Shel Olam himself blew the shofar and bringing so much newness into the world. Shachar, do you mind closing the door, please? Thank you so much. What we're going to see right now is a small, short sikha. It's a very short sikha. I found this sikha. I feel it's a new year. I want to taste newness and go a little bit outside of what we normally do. I found this sikha of this young Rav. He's a Rav in Yeshivat HaGolan. I can't pronounce his last name for my life.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Although this last name should ring an unfortunate bell to some of you. We have Yonatan Atiyas, Baruch Hashem, in the rain. The day of Yonatan's wedding, there was a pigua in the entrance to Yerushalayim at the bus stop, where a 16-year-old boy, who was Yonatan's next-door neighbor, was killed the day of his wedding. When he was getting ready to go to his chuppah, his neighbors were going to their son's funeral. Aryeh, his name was Aryeh Chup, something like that. Yeah, and I haven't figured out if this is the family or Loida. I don't know exactly, but anyway, it's this Rav. His name is Rav Shai Chupak. Young guy. I saw him. I watched him give this shir, and I found it printed too. It touched my heart. I think it's a great way to go in with a new. There's so much Torah in the world, a new way, a new understanding. Definitely of Tzom Gedalya. People are. Tzom Gedalya is not one of the ones. We're so into Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Tshuva, and Yom Kippur, and Shabbat Tshuva. Tzom Gedalya is definitely very underrated, but it's a very powerful day, Tzom Gedalya. When you think about the story about what happened today, this is we're going to read it, we're going to learn about what happened today, right? What is this day Mesamel? And I think, on the Pnimiyut, why does it come right away in the beginning of the year? Let's look inside. Tzom Gedalya mitztayer b'yenenu kefisfus. Fisfus histori, fisfus mahuti, fisfus emuni. You probably need to know what the word fisfus means, right? What does fisfus mean? Totally a missed opportunity. There's historical missed opportunity. There's an essential missed opportunity. There's an emuni, and an emuna level, a missed opportunity. למרות החורבן הגדול, הייתה קיימת האפשרות להמשיך ולהתקיים בארץ ישראל, גדליה היה יכול להקים את האומה מחדש. Gedalya was basically the last gadol. for lack of a better title right now. Gedalya was for lack of a better title, Gedalya was like the last potential manhig that we had. He was the last tzaddik that we had at the time after Churban Abayit. And what ended up happening to him? It's amazing. Our enemies, they can't stomach, even like they kill us. Even like there's a little bit of light left there, gotta get rid of that too. But here we see this is like a political, this is even a more bizarre situation of a murder, that he gets murdered. V'hine b'shela retzach efsharut zo yarda me'aperek. What does this mean? Is that even though we had Churban Abayit, Gedalya being alive meant we may have burned down the house, but we could still keep some kind of a vision and a tikva, and even a mahalach of chaim keep on going while he was alive. With his murder, that was also kivachol, that was also basically, it vanished, that opportunity. He's going to explain this. בספר ירמיה, הסיפור ממשיך צעד נוסף. ירמיהו הנביא continues this story. Yochanan ben Korach was the machlif of Gedalya. שרי החיילים אשר איתו פונים לירמיה בתחנונים בשאלה מה יהיה הצעד הבא שלהם? Everyone's freaking out. What now? Like, what's left now? Now that Gedalya is murdered. What's left now? ירמיהו ניגש ואומר להם, אם שוב תשבו בארץ הזאת, ובניתי אתכם ולא אהרוס, ונתתי אתכם ולא אתוש, כי ניחמתי אל הרעה אשר עשיתי לכם. What does that mean? If you still want to keep going here, and you're loyal to the Medina, you're loyal to Eretz Israel, it'll still work out. Even though it seems like all Gehenom has broken loose, but if you stick to all the promises that have been until now, it'll still be okay. You'll still hold on, and it'll work.
Yochanan ben Korach?
Mm-hmm.
His dad's name was Korach.
I don't know. I have to look in if it's Krach or yeah. I don't know I don't think it has anything to do with. So what does this mean? What is Yirmiyahu basically saying to them? משמעות הדבר היא שגם לאחר הפספוס המהותי שנוצר מהרצח של גדליה, נשארה עוד תקווה לתקן, לעשות ולבנות. That even though, so we get stuck with there was a murder on Tzom Gedalya, and then we go into the whole concept of murdering Gedolim or political murders, and that's what the day became. But really, there's still a continuation to the story. What's that? Is that despite him being murdered, things still could have worked. There was still a little bit of a tikva left, that if we want to be loyal and we want things to still work out, they will work out. What ended up happening? Tzom Gedalya nireh kechurban veheres, aval Yirmiyah הנביא אומר שקיימת עוד תקווה. Again, just based on the story, it seems like this is a horrible tragedy, and that's what the day is all about. I don't know. It seems like there's another nekuda missing from what this day is all about. There's another nekuda that we can't ignore. Hope, a ray of hope. It's funny. When we think about the story of Churban Abayit, when do we think like the game was over? When do we think that it was like,
10th of Av.
huh?
10th of Av.
Yud Av? Because, yeah. When else? What's that? From the moment they came in, even, right? Kilo Gamal, Sof Sipur.
Doesn't it say when the pig's hooves touch the wall?
There's all these different moments, and then, what's that?
What's the walls of breach then?
Kilo, Shbirat HaChomot, Ken, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, you're saying. Yeah? You're saying Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, basically.
I'm still saying
Oh, so, you're still saying, okay. The walls of the Mikdash. Evanti. Here he's saying something else.
Wasn't there also like the day before they entered was when they stopped bringing the korban? There was something preceding. That was actually
Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is Butal Kurban HaTamid. No, but you're talking about something, I know what you're talking about. It wasn't a day earlier, it was a few days earlier. That's something else the Mishnah says, I remember right now, the Mishnah says that something else was happening. Kitzel, for this year, means that there's all these moments that we see things starting to go bad. We're just basically, in our minds, just waiting for the whole thing to be done. Okay? Here comes Tzom Gedalya. Tzom Gedalya should be just the dagger. Kilu, that's it. Now that he, the last one, whose Ki'ilu represents any form of leadership, and now he's murdered, it's done. But this Rav is telling us, but just continue reading Yirmiyahu Navi for a second. Yirmiyahu Navi is approached by the few remaining Jews that are still around, and he's saying to them, what should we do? What should we do? And he says to them, listen, if you stick to your guns and to every prophecy you've ever been told, you'll see it's not going to be over. And yet what? What ended up happening? It was over. Now the question, that's why he calls this a Yom HaFisfus. It was a missed opportunity of basically taking advantage of one ray of light, of one little bit of hope. One little bit of hope. I'll share with you briefly. Last week there was a couple came to the office. Oh my God, Churban Bayis. There wasn't just Bayis Rishon, Bayis Sheni. There was a Churban Bayis Shlishi, Revi, Chamishi. Every Churban you could imagine, right? And it was impossible for them to understand that just because there were all these Churbans taking place in their relationship, that they wanted to ignore the good Nikuda that they saw also. Why? Because they said, well, what's it going to help? There's going to be a Churban anyway afterwards, right? That's like Reb Shlomo, when someone came to him after a concert and said, you keep on talking about this Simcha, how, the Simcha, but I know what's waiting for me at home, right? So why should we be Simcha right now? So he said to her, that sounds like someone that's starving, and then you offer them a sandwich, and they say, what good is this going to do for me? I'm going to be hungry again later. Right? It's like we keep on, we love to dread on this, like, well, later it's going to be bad. And it doesn't let me look at how good it could be right now. And I'm remembering, like, he used to say, like, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, everyone has permission that they say for 5 minutes right now, I choose to be in Gan Eden. Maybe Gehenna is waiting for me a little bit later, nachon? But I'm choosing to be in Gan Eden right now for 5 minutes. That's what he would say sometimes at concerts. I saw him say this in Poland, like he's performing in front of like darkness of all darkness, and he's saying these such taras. It seems like what he's saying over here is that as bad as things were, everyone was just like, it could be good, but since there'll probably be another Churban, I'm not even going to let things be good now. Even when a prophet is telling me that if you stick to your guns, everything will be okay. Very interesting nikuda. Now look how he develops this. הרבה פעמים אנו נפגשים בתנ"ך עם התקווה הזאת. We come across this, like, after everything seems to be done, this little bit of hope, quite often throughout the Tanakh. תקווה שממשיכה תמיד ומאירה גם ברגעים הכי חשוכים. This is a hope that continues to show up and shines even in the worst of times. And I wanted to do this because we just learned this right now. בהפטרת היום השני של ראש השנה, קראנו על התקווה הלאומית. We spoke about national hope. ויש תקווה לאחריתך נאום השם, ושבו בנים לגבולם. ירמיהו נביא החורבן, ירמיהו is the prophet of the חורבן, חוזר ומדבר על העתיד והתקווה שיש למרות הכל. He comes back and he speaks about, despite everything, what's going to be. כי אנוכי ידעתי את המחשבות אשר אנוכי חושב עליכם נאום השם. מחשבות שלום, ולא לרעה לתת לכם אחרית ותקווה. This is what we speak about second day of Rosh Hashanah and the Haftarah. We speak about how, nachon, al-pi, the way that I understand my situation in life, I really do need a prophet to come and remind me that it's worth holding on to hope. It's worth holding on to hope. So now he says, he takes another story from this Rav, he says like this, אני רוצה לקחת סיפור אחד מהתנ"ך, המופיע בתחילת ספר יהושע, שמבהיר את המסר שמבטא ירמיה בעניין התקווה בצורה הלאומית הכללית, ומוריד אותה לפן האישי הפרטי. He says, I'm going to take another story from the Tanakh. It's the story at the beginning of Sefer Yehoshua, which clarifies and emphasizes what Yirmiyahu Hanavi was saying about holding on to a little bit of hope, even if it seems like it's not worth it. He says, let's bring it down from this national, huge level to a very personal and private level. אותו המעבר שעלינו לעשות בימים האלו שבין כסר לעשור, and he's saying, this is kind of like the avoda of עשרת ימי תשובה. הסיפור הוא סיפורה של רחב. Okay, what do we know about Rachav? Remember Rachav? Who's Rachav? Rachav is one of the reasons we're sitting here. It's the weirdest thing. Now, what else do we know about her profession? What did the Mefarshim say that was? She had a makolet. Right? That's what they told us to make us be able to deal with it as younger Yidden, to not have bad thoughts about her, but you're correct. She was a prostitute. Okay? Rachav. This is, and she's the one that greets. Who does she greet? And? Who else? There was two Meraglim. There were two Meraglim. Besides Yeshua, there were two Meraglim. What was the other one? He's less known. It's mysterious. Pinchas. Yeah. Bris Shalom. Rachav has nothing. He's the anti-Rachav. What he did in the end of Parshas, the end of Balak. Pinchas goes to that whole energy, and he's like, yeah, that's not happening here. So Pinchas comes, and he's the one that goes with Yeshua and Kalev, right? The two Meraglim. Pinchas and Kalev are the ones that go and meet with Rachav, right? Now listen to this. The story of Rachav is a phenomenal, it's an amazing story. And it's really her zchut that we began to lichbosh Eretz Yisrael. It's an amazing thing. Who was she? She was a prostitute. We're going to see something crazy Chazal say about her. Fourth line in the third paragraph. המרגלים אומרים לרחב שעליה לקשור בחלון בו ירדו את תקוות חוט השני. That's what they call it. Remember, they hid her. She hid them, right? And then she basically said, "Listen, there's this one deal I'm asking you. When you guys come in here and you start conquering the land, spare me and my family." They say, "En baya, you'll get a schar for it." And what's the siman? What's the siman that you are going to be saved? Like, how are we going to know? How's anyone going to know?
Live from the window or something?
So this thing, tikvat chut hashani. So it's like a red ribbon. What's that?
We had it on the chairs and shared the roof.
Like to make us do tshuva or something. It's like this red tikvat chut hashani. It's like chut literally means string, but it had to be something bigger than a string if they have to see it from outside. But basically, from the window with which they fled, they had to have a tikvat chut hashani. That's what it's called, coming out of the window. What's that? Could be. The Mefarshim are not sure exactly what it is. That's why I'm saying it, because the chut hashani shows up in different places as well, and there it's not a rope. So it's different. Whatever it is, it's some siman. It's not important what it was, it's the name of it. What's it called? Tikvat chut hashani. The Frierdiker Rebbe, I don't know why his name keeps on coming up in every shir lately. The Frierdiker Rebbe has an amazing letter about bitachon. Remind me, I'll send it to you. I just saw it. And it's all about, it's basically called Michtav Tikvat Chut Hashani. And he also emphasizes this concept of that when a Yid has everything going against him, he has no reason, based on Seichel Enoshi and Bitachon and Hashem, to not think that they could figure out a way for something to change. This is all this Chut Tikvat Chut Hashani. We'll explain this. So they tell her, המרגלים אומרים לרחב שעלה לקשור בחלון בו ירדו את תקוות חוט השני. הפרשנים מתקשים בביור המילה תקוות. Why you just call it חוט השני? Why are you calling it תקוות חוט השני? The hope of the חוט of shani? What does that mean? חלקם מסבירים שזה פתיל, that תקווה actually means like a wick, like a חוט. חלקם מסבירים שזה לשון קו. And some say tikva is just from the word line, like a line, like a kav. הדברים זקוקים להסבר. הרי קו וחוט הם מילים נרדפות. למה נצרכת הכפילות? So listen, kav and chut, these two words mean the same thing. Why do you have to write tikvat chut hashani? If you're saying that tikva means like a a line or something. You already have that in the word chut. It obviously means something else. פתח להבנה אותה תקוות נמצא במדרש של על הפסוק בשיר השירים, כחוט השני שפתותייך. So we have this pasuk in Shir Shirim that says, like the chut of the shani are your lips. אומרים במדרש, זה לשון של זהורית. You know what זהורית is?
What, is the head or?
You're darshaning it already, yeah. But he says over here, זהורית is אותו צמר אדום שהיו קושרים ביום הכיפורים על ראש השעיר.
It's a shade of red.
אשר הלבנתו העידה על כפרת האומה. What was the greatest simcha in Yom Kippur? When the red turned to white. And it gave them hope. The Gewalt, right? It gave them hope. L'chaim, it should give us hope. L'chaim tov l'shalom. It gave us such hope. It's like in the time of the Mikdash. You know, I daven some years. I have to find it again. I started doing this many years ago in Ma'aleh Adumim, and I recommend each of you, if you're okay with being a little bit floy with your nusach, get Machzor HaMikdash. Do you know what that is? The Temple institutes Machzor, because it's worth it. It's always worth it, but they have the avoda of the Kohen Gadol illustrated. You're in the Kodesh. You're right there. Every piece of the avoda, Seder Avoda, is like, the way they do it is unbelievable. Unbelievable. One year when I was chazan, I used it, and I realized like, total tircha de tzibura, because I was like so stuck on certain images I had, and because you don't say it in the regular Shmonas, you only say it in the Chazar HaShatz, right? So the description here is this chut hashani really is like a red, like it was by Rachav also, a red tie, bow, rope, whatever it is. In time of Yom Kippur, it turns white, gives us all hope, changes our lives, right? לעניות דעתי, אצל רחב מבוטא אותו עניין בהקשר פרטי. This is also by Rachav on a personal level. Chazal אומרים על רחב, listen to this is crazy. I never heard this before. דבר שמזכיר ציפורו של רבי אליעזר בן דורדיה, something that reminds us of the story of רבי אליעזר בן דורדיה, מאז קטנותה, כל... Oh, they have a women's shir here now, right? Tell them 2 minutes, because I'm going to tell Mamash, 2 minutes we're finished. 2 minutes. Remember about the story about Rebbe Eliezer ben Dordia? There wasn't a... You're Gavaf. Everyone's going to say Zonos, and you're saying Tzitzis. Right. There wasn't a prostitute, he didn't... B'diuk, right? He says, listen to this. The Mechilta says like this about Rachav. Me'az katnuta, kol zman sheYisrael b'midbar, hayta Rachav chotet. For 40 years, she was a prostitute. As long as we were in the rain. 40 שנה הייתה רחב במקומות החשוכים האלה, ואף על פי כן, and nonetheless, Rachav, 40 years doing such tuma in the world, יש מקום לתקווה, because she had one moment of opening her heart to someone else. זה בלתי נתפס. קשה להאמין שאפשר לצאת ממקום כל כך חשוך, והנה כן, יש תקווה לאחריתך. We have to end because I don't want to keep the women waiting. It's an important shir. The point of the year is like this. When Yirmiyahu Hanavi comes to them and says, I know, it looks like you messed up everything, the matzav is done. It's toast. Yirmiyahu Hanavi says, but when we're Yidden, we're plugged into something else. Rachav, 40 years, I'm such a horrible, whatever it is. Even a Yid that comes to his life on the 3rd of Tishrei, and he had a horrible Rosh Hashanah, and he thinks this year is doomed. So, first of all, make sure you're here next year for Rosh Hashanah. That's Aleph. To anyone that had the chutzpah of not being here. Bet is a very important inyan of saying, I believe in Yirmiyahu Hanavi. I want to connect myself to that Yid that stood on Yom Kippur, and he's thinking, it's going down with the red bow, it's going down, I know we were up to this year, and then suddenly that red bow turns to white. Yesh tikva la'acharitech. In every area of our lives. Tshuva enables us to tune into this. Tshuva mi amkus halev enables us to look at everywhere we've been in life and say, in a second, this red bow can turn into white. In every area in my life, we should take advantage of these days because these days are so powerful. This is the pnimius of the day of Tzom Gedalya. Just got to keep on reading the story a few psukim later because the story always continues.